Hello, welcome to Boardgames with Niramas. I'm Joseph, I'm here with Drako, and today we are back to continue the top 100 games of all time list, the 2022 edition. Today it's going to be 10 more games that we talk about, and then December 1st is the advent calendar starting, where Mats and Andreas will join us and we'll talk about the top 24. And if you already are curious about what games Mats and Andreas have picked for the list, they did a top 100 each, and that will be in the video description. There will also be links to all the different games that I talk about today below the spoiler shield down there, where you can get links to the videos or the Board Game Geek pages of those games if you're curious to find out more about a game, because I'm just talking, just a few minutes about each game. So let's get started, and before we do, I just want to remind you again, patreon.com/bgwniramas. You can become a member over here and get some fun rewards, and you also support the channel, and we thank you so much for all the support for the channel. Now let's get started with the first game of today. At number 80 we have Viticulture, or actually more specifically it's Viticulture Essential Edition, and I do like to have the Tuscany expansion there as well when I play it. But Viticulture is a worker placement game. It's a game where you're basically making wine. You're doing the whole process of gathering, like you get these like seeds, basically you plant them to get grapes, and then you harvest the grapes, and then you what's it called, like smash them into wine, and then as they are wine they will age in your cellar, and then you will pick up contracts, and then you can sell the wine. So this is a game of, and it's that like baby steps, and this is not something I usually like that much in games. I prefer more of the point salad style worker placement or Euro games, where you do a lot of different things and you get points all over the place. I like that because it's really feels rewarding. In this one you only get like 25 points or similar, and you sort of do all these steps before you even get your first point of the game. There's like a long way before you even reach that first point, and there's no like set amount of rounds in this game. Instead it keeps going until one player hits that point threshold. So on the way there you're doing all these worker placement actions, and I think it's interesting in this game how you have a grande worker, or like you have a big worker, and that one you can place even when a spot is already taken, which is normal worker placement. When someone already went somewhere, it's blocked, right? But one time per sort of the 2 seasons, because the 4 seasons you play through, you have that chance to take a spot again that someone else has taken. I do like that mechanic in the game, and there's a bunch of different small things in this game that I like. I like how you have to like build a trellis or irrigation in order to grow certain types of grapes. I like how the wine ages and the grapes age in your cellar, but you have to extend the cellar in order to be able to have those really good quality wines in there. There's also, with the expansion and everything here, there's a bunch of different, it's not just about filling those orders. There's other ways to like score points, and there's all this little, as you can see here, this little mini game of area control. There's a lot of things going on. Another thing that I really like about this game, and I think it's brilliant, is the wake up order, basically the player order that is set each round. So if I want to be early in the player order, which means I can grab those important spots, maybe I really need to harvest my grapes, so it's important for me to be there, to be able to go there early so nobody else grabs it first. Well, then I will have to go early, and I won't get that many sort of rewards in the morning or at the beginning of the round. If I feel like I'm fine going later, I can go later in the turn order, and I get a bunch of nice rewards that way. So that is an interesting, it's like a little mini game in the game that I really like. I think that is very, very well made, and it adds a lot to the game. So it's a really good worker placement game, and I think the theme of the whole game, the setting, is really cute as well. I really like this whole, Tuscany Italian, vineyard you're building, and it feels very rewarding when you make that wine and you sell it, and yeah. So really enjoy this one, Viticulture, and I do think you should have the Tuscany expansion there as well. And now let's head to the next one. And at 79 we have Amerigo, which is a game from Stefan Feld, one of my favorite designers. He's done a lot of good games, a lot of those good mid-weight Euros, and Amerigo is a pretty cool game in it that has this cube tower. That's sort of the main thing in the game here. Up there you can see it, this cardboard tower that you throw these wooden cubes into. So every time you're doing one round, you're doing like set a bunch of rounds. Here we go. There's the cubes. Then depending on what cubes are coming out, that's how strong the certain type of action can be done. And also which actions can be done during the round depends on which colors of the cubes that come out. Because when you throw these in, some of them will get stuck in the tower. It's designed that way. And then when you throw in new cubes later on, some of them might get bumped out. So that way you sort of have like a main action type, like, oh, on this round you're probably going to do this action. You're probably going to build or plan or sail and so on. But maybe one of those cubes falling out will be of a different color. So all of a sudden you can do something else, and everyone, chooses individually what they are doing on that turn. So you're trying to like go around this Caribbean, area here with different islands and so on. You're sailing your little ships, and you're basically trying to, build buildings and also get the goods, like luxury goods like tobacco and so on, or coffee from the islands. There's different ways to get points, and there's different strategies to pursue, and you can upgrade you can get like new technologies that like give you special abilities. So maybe when you're doing a certain action, you will do it better than everyone else and so on. There's a lot of this is a midweight game, but there's a lot of small parts of this game that I really enjoy. I mean, the cube tower is really cool. I like the whole gimmicky thing of it. I like that in board games. I like when there's something cool you're doing in the game. And it's like instead of rolling a die, that's a randomness right there with the cubes and all that. I think that's really cool. But I also like the little, there's like a little puzzle of how you build on your islands, and you can block each other. And you can also sort of aim to you want to get like a bunch of luxury goods of the same type, but then you also want to make sure you get those sort of multipliers so that like tobacco is worth a lot for you. So it's quite tricky to like, it's not an easy game in that sense. It's easy to learn, it's easy to get into, but there's a lot of strategy paths, there's a lot of depth in the game where you can go down different routes, and yeah. So really cool game, Amerigo. I do recommend it. And now let's head to the next one. At 78, we have Civilization, the board game. This is a big Civilization game that has been way higher up on my list, but I very rarely get to play this one. It's hard to, because it takes a long while, and it's, a bit complicated to get people into it as well. So it's not something I can just pull out at a random game night, but I still keep it in my collection, and I want to get it played again at some point in the future. Here I have my video where I play with Drako. So it's a 2-player game. The map would be bigger if you have 3 or 4 players. I mean, this is a really old video when I had terrible audio in it, I remember, but it still has gotten a lot of views and a lot of view time, and people seem to actually enjoy it anyway. But I think the real strength of Civilization, the board game, which really makes it so much fun, is, I mean, I like Civilization, the computer game, and this one really feels like, it feels epic. It feels after you played it for like 4 or 5 hours, right? And you accomplish things, you build cities, you've been, fighting your opponents maybe. It really feels like an epic Civilization game in the board game format. I also like that the game is not just a pure war game. It's not just about fighting. There's different paths to victory. So you can win an economical victory, you can win culture victory, or you can win a technology, basically, victory, which is sort of the same thing as a timer for the game. So at some point, if you keep playing long enough, then someone will go to space, and that's the technology-based victory. You can win a war victory, but interesting thing is if you're playing like 3 players, then if I'm attacking Drako and I'm about to because I win if I take 1 capital, I don't need to beat everyone. And if I'm close to attacking Drako's capital and I'm about to do it, I have a strong army out there, the 3rd player also knows that the 3rd player will lose if I manage to do that. So the 3rd player will be interested in helping Drako out to defend the capital. And that makes for an interesting balance in the game, where it's pretty rare, from my experience, to have a military victory. In a 2-player game, a lot of times as well, from my experience, the if you build up a strong defense, then you're not really going to be conquered, probably. So then it comes down to more of a racing game where you're trying to get the culture victory or the economic one. But I mean, at that point, the military might be needed. If I see that you have, I think you need to get to 15 gold sources sort of to win on an economical victory. That's a hard word to say. Then if I see that you're getting close, I might need to go out with my army and take over your gold mine so that you don't get there. So the combination of these different parts of the game and how they come together is what makes this game really good. And also it's really feels nice. I like the theme of it. I like the whole, like if you have your own civilization with their own strengths and weaknesses, and you have your little dudes moving around on the map, and you're building cities, and it just feels like civilization. So yeah, it's a really cool game. I wish I get to play this at some point in the future here soon. So had to be on the list still, and I think I think it's gonna stay in the top 100, and hopefully I get to play it soon. And then at 77, we have Res Arcana, which actually has 7.7 in score on Board Game Geek, which really confused me there for a second, because I was like, it's 77. Why doesn't it say 77 on the actual page? Anyway, I haven't done a video for this one. I should do that at some point. This is not that hard to film or anything. This is a tableau building game. And it's like fantasy based, so everything is like fantasy style. It has a lot of iconography, which could be a little bit tricky at first, but it has 5 different resources here. And so as long as you figure out what they look like, then you start figuring out that, okay, the card might mean like, well, if you spend this one, you will get this one and that one. There's a lot of conversions. And the interesting thing with this game that makes it interesting to play multiple times for me is that you have a deck of cards, which are your actions and things that you can do. You're never adding more cards to your deck. You have a set deck, and it's not that many cards. But then at the beginning of the game, you draft the cards. So that way you can form a strategy based on that, depending on which cards you pick. And then to play them, you have to pay the cost of them, but then they are usually in place, and then you can use them, like you can tap them, you use them, exhaust them every round for an effect. Some of them give you income off these resources. Some of them lets you convert resources to other resources or convert resources into points. And you're also getting to use these resources to pick up these, like you can see here, the big tiles that have like a special ability on them as well. You're probably going to buy one of those. And it's a race where the first to 10 points is the winner. And it's just a fun game. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the whole tableau sort of thing and managing your actions and trying to figure out, well, if I do this, that will lead to that, and that will lead to this. That is fun. You also have a cool little thing in this one where every round you pick one of the sort of special tiles that you can see up there as well. And then that will give you an extra income or an extra ability or an extra power for that round. Then when you pass the round and when you're done with your whatever your actions you can do and you're passing, then you have to return it. And then when you return it, you also pick a new one. And that's the thing I really like in games. There's in other games as well, like Gaia Project and so on, Terra Mystica, where I like that thing where you might have an one of those temporary action things that I really want for the next round, but that means you have to pass before me, otherwise I have no chance of taking it, because it's not going to be out there on the display to choose from. And that makes for an interesting situation a lot of times, where I might be like doing small actions, trying to delay, trying to watch you, and that adds to a lot of interaction in games, and in this one as well. And I think the artwork and the style, the feel of the game is really good. I think it's a fun game. It's not that long. And I played this quite a bit on Board Game Arena as well, and there it's even quicker. I do prefer it in physical form though, like a lot of games, because I like having those actual resource tokens and everything and cards in my hand and in front of me. Because that way I can put them, like I can put 2 fire here and 2 and an lawn and whatever. And I can organize things, which I can't do in a digital format, so... But yeah, really cool game, Res Arcana. If you haven't seen it before, you can check it out more on Board Game Geek. Again, all the links to the web pages or the videos will be down in the video description. And then at 76, it's Hero Realms. Hero Realms is a cool little card game, deck building game where you are fighting a boss, really. And in the base of the game, you're fighting each other. So the base, if you just pick up Hero Realms, it's a 1 versus 1 fighting it out game with deck building and cards and fantasy themed. Really love the artwork on this, just as you can see there. Really good artwork in this game, really good feel to it. I like the flow of the game. It's quite quick and easy and has a nice pacing to the game, you know, pretty short turns, like it's my turn, then it's your turn, it's my turn. The reason I say you fight a boss is because in this video here I am playing with the Runes of Thandar and the Village something, the 2 expansions that adds a co-op or a solo mode, which is really fun in this game. And that's the way I like to play the game, actually. I think that's the way the game really shines. So when you're playing co-op, like I did with Drako here, we did a series of this where we play through the campaign. It's not just that you're like fighting a boss and fighting the minions of the boss and so on. It's also like a little story and some theme in there and some... Yeah, it's very well made. It's only cards and it's only like a small little book where you're reading the story and the campaign things in. But it works really nicely and it's really brings a lot of theme to life. And there's a lot of interesting, smart little design decisions in here where they, you know, a card can be used in a certain way because it's going to simulate a thing happening or... Yeah, it's cool. It also has the deck building thing where deck building is, you know, it's really strong. It's hand management, but there's also a lot of deck building in this where you have this market row that you're buying cards from, and it's important what cards you buy because you're forming like sets really of cards. So if you're going in like to the green cards, then you want to get more green cards because they will combo with each other. And if you play, a lot of them have like, oh, if you play a card and if you already played a green card on the same turn, then another effect will trigger. So it has a good deck building system. It has a fun co-op system with the expansion that I can really recommend. The actual base game itself is also good. And it also adds, there's like these character packs that I can really recommend as well. Because if you're just getting the smallest box, very cheap, smallest box, then it's only straightforward. You play against another person and you have the same setting to start. But with the character packs, you get a character. So like you might be the mage playing against the warrior. And that makes it so much more fun because then you have a little bit of a different starting deck and so on and different powers that you can activate. So Hero Realms still in my top 100. It is over here now and I haven't played it for a while, but it's a really good deck builder. And then we have Unlock Star Wars, which is that's a series of games, the Unlock series, which is like sort of escape rooms or puzzle style games where you're cooperatively or solo, you're trying to solve a mystery, you're trying to, you know, go through an adventure by solving things. You need the app assistance, you need a phone or a tablet with the app, and then it's really cool how this, I really like how when you combine apps or digital things with the board game, and in this one it's so well made. I think it's really cool how things that happen during the game, you have these cards and all that, but then things happen in the app and you need to solve some puzzles. You might need to like shake your phone or you know, press buttons in a certain order. I think it's so cool. I only played through this one, which is Unlocked the Star Wars. I thought that was brilliant with the Star Wars theme on it. There's a bunch of different ones. There's for like kids, there's this different adventure style ones. I am looking forward to play more of the Unlocks. I have 2 actually on my shelf that I haven't played yet that are brand new and going to be released here this year. Or well, I think one of them is already released and the other one is new. So I will get back to Unlock more. And I did a video, full live stream playthrough with Drako of this one. It's of course spoilerish, so if you're planning to play it, you shouldn't watch it. But if you already did play this one and you want to see how we solved it and how we handle it, then you can go check out the playthrough as well. Really fun game system. I think these are really cool. Again, it's only like a deck of cards and the app, and it makes for a really, really fun experience. And it is timed, so you have a certain time now. When I did this, of course, when I talked to the viewers and to Drako and everything, I didn't care that much about the time, but there's like a grading system at the end. Oh, how well did you do when you solved it and everything. Next up here is an interesting combination of a adventure style story driven game with like Euro mechanisms. So this is Near and Far, and Near and Far is sort of a part of a series of game in a sense. It's not officially a series, but it's made by Ryan Lockett, and he made the Above and Below before, and after this one he did the Now or Never, which I think it's called, which I haven't played. But Near and Far is really cool, and it has a interesting like a choose your own adventure style, and again the combination with how you plan out your turns and what you're doing is very Euro-y, very like min-maxing and all that. This is also a competitive game, which I don't know, a lot of these like story booklets, adventure style campaign games are cooperative. It looks really nice, has really good components, really cute style, and it's like it's in its own world or its own universe of thematically. You're traveling, and it's really cool. You have this like booklet that you're shifting pages on when you go to another map. But so the game board is the actual book, and you're moving your little pawns around. You're traveling, and you're discovering things. You're facing challenges and tests, and you have like a theme of companions that go with you and give you strengths in different ways and help you out. The other player or players, in this case, I'm playing with Drako here, 2-player game, but one of the other players will read to you when you encounter certain things, certain spots. They will read from a book of stories, and then you have to make choices. And that's when, like, oh well, you meet this traveler on the road. Do you want to help them? Do you want to rob them? You can choose if you want to be good or bad. You have like an alignment thing going like between good and evil. It's like a lot of classic like adventure style game things in this one. But then, yeah, an interesting combination of board games in this. I think it works really well, and it's a really cool system. I played through almost all of the campaign together with a friend, and really enjoyed this one a lot. So I do have Sleeping Gods. That is one of the latest ones in this style, or in this world. I have that one in my shelf. I am planning to play that one soon, and also I will do like some kind of playthrough series of that one as well. Maybe during the winter when I'm sitting at home, I'll do that. So yeah, Nira 4. Then at 73, we're back to more classic Euro style game with farming simulation again. This is from Uwe Rosenberg, and this is my favorite out of those Agricola Caverna, and this is Hallertau. So in Hallertau, you are doing sort of the same thing as in those games. You are building up a little farm, and you're expanding it, getting different kinds of special powers or things as you go. But it's done in a very different way. It's abstract. As you can see here, all the cubes are blue. So you don't have your workers. You have like basically workers. And then you get new workers every round. And then everyone like shares the same worker, like the cubes, or everyone shares that space that you can place the workers in. This is a really, really good solo game as well. Where it's a good solo system. And as you can see here, all the worker placement spots has like 3, 2, or 1 cube that you can place there. And of course, if you go there first, you get to just place 1 cube and get to do the action. But if someone already went there, you will have to place 2. You are also building up these little fields, and then you can plant different crops in those fields. And depending on how it is a crop rotation in this game, which is really cool, where like after a field has performed and you have harvested a bunch of crops, it will like go bad for a while, and then you have to wait a bit before it gets ready again to sow something different in there. The main drive of this game is also the card system, which is really cool in this one. So it's a lot of combo, wombo. There's a lot of play, like you have a bunch of cards that are basically conditional when you can play them. So a card might say, well, you can play this one if you have 5 sheep. Then I make sure I get 5 sheep, and then I can play the card. I get the effect. Maybe I get some wood or whatever. I get some things out of it. And then a lot of times I get to draw a new card. And then that card might say that I need to slaughter 3 sheep. So then I might play that one and slaughter my sheep. And then I might get another card that wants me to just have sheep. And then I'm like, oh, I already slaughtered my sheep. So there's a lot of luck, of course, involved in how you draw those cards and in which order they come out and what cards you get. And I think this game, you got to go into this game knowing that. It's not as like Agricola has a very small part, or a Caverna as well, but especially Agricola has a small part of luck involved during the gameplay. At the start of the game, you might get an occupation or something in Agricola that determines the way you're going to play, and that's of course random, but it's not like you don't get surprised during the gameplay. In Hallertau, you can get surprised. You can get like very changing directions in the middle of the game, and sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get unlucky. And I mean, I think that's fun, and I think it's fine in this game. It works nicely with the game, and I don't mind it. But just saying that, you need to be aware of that. So it's a little bit different from those other games in that sense. But I really like the system with the whole like placing the workers this way, and then There's also like a system for what the area up there is like separated into 4 different quadrants, and then like depending on the number of players, certain amount of cubes will be removed there in between rounds, so it's easier to go to those actions again. Really good system there with the worker placement, and a little bit different as well from a lot of worker placement games, which I do enjoy. So yeah, Hallertau is a cool one. I think if you like these kind of farming simulators and all that, you should really check this one out. At 72, it's time for something totally different from farming simulators. This is Mansions of Madness, the second edition. I never played the first edition, but the second edition is an app-assisted game where you have an app that's sort of helping you out and keeping track of things and managing the mystery. And you're going through a house most of the time. There's different scenarios, but most of the time it's like this house, like, you know, spooky ghost house you are walking around in. And here you can see it's being played, and they have actual TV there. You can have just a tablet or a phone or whatever, but yeah, I like that idea. And then it's a fully cooperative game, and then you go around and you're trying to solve this mystery. You're facing different tests, and you have to roll some dice. You have to do some puzzles, and some of them are done in the app with like actual sliding things, puzzles, or codes or whatever. It's a really cool game. It's really thematic. It's really like in deep with the whole like Cthulhu and the horror theme. The only thing I don't like about this game, and I actually sort of fixed that in my copy, is that there are some, because you have like 2 basic health meters for your character, which is physical health, and you have sanity, like in a lot of these games. And if you go insane, then you will draw a card, like to get some kind of mental affliction. And some of those cards are that you become like a traitor. So all of a sudden you want to burn down the house. You don't want the team to win. And I just think that is really, really boring. And I think it's boring game design. I mean, some people like that, but I don't like it at all. Like, you sit there for 2 hours working together, making plans together. Oh, then Drako over here, he got insane. And now he wants to, well, Drako would like to burn the house maybe. But you see what I'm saying? I don't think that's fun in one of these kind of games. So I just remove those cards from my copy. I don't have them, you know, in the copy. So I don't want to do that. I want to keep it fully cooperative. And it's super hard anyway. It's not like you need those things to make it a challenging game, because the game in itself is super hard. A lot of times you come up against these really big, nasty monsters that you need to fight, and maybe you're not that strong. Maybe you haven't, because there's also like a timer in the game, so you don't have, you know, infinite time. You have to always keep pushing on because something is happening with the house or with the situation. So you don't have time to search through every spot that you can search, or every find all the good items and all that. So yeah, really hard game, which it should be in this kind of cooperative game, but I want to keep it cooperative, and I really enjoy it. I look forward to playing this sometime in the future again with my friends. I know that some of my friends really like this as well. So Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. And the last game to talk about today is Carcassonne, and especially Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers, which is my favorite version of Carcassonne. This is a fairly new one, came out last year, I think, but I like Carcassonne, like all the versions. This is by now it's a really classic board game. I think a lot of people have played this one, even if they are not real like gamer geeks. This is one of the more mainstream games these days, and I really like Carcassonne for what it is. The whole placement of tiles and the back and forth quick turns between the players, and you're placing your tile, you're trying to score points, but also of course you're trying to block your opponents. This game can be pretty mean when you play with certain people, and you can really go into this like mode of trying to just block each other off and so on. But I had a lot of fun with Carcassonne. I played it, you know, digitally on like tablets. I played it on like Boardgame Arena. I played this one physically a lot as well. And the Hunters and Gatherers add some interesting, cool things. Like, you can check out my playthrough video here with Drako if you want to see all the details. But it adds some nice new touches to the game. Just one thing, like the rivers, which is sort of like the roads in normal Carcassonne. It adds these like huts where it's not just about putting a guy on the river to score some points immediately. You also have the huts where you're trying to put it so that it's so almost a little bit like the farmers, where you're trying to get a long river with a lot of lakes in it and a lot of fish in it, because that will score you points at the end of the game. So interesting twist to things here, and there's lots of different versions of Carcassonne out there, and I played some of them. I haven't played them all. I still want to play the Star Wars one. I haven't played that one. That sounds fun. But anyway, Carcassonne is a really fun classic board game, and it had to be on my list here. It comes in at number 71. And that was the list for today. A little shorter episode here. And depending on some games I do like to talk more about, some games I just try to focus more. It's kind of hard to make these lists and make them equally long, even if I try to actually. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back next Friday, same time. Then we keep going with 70 to 61. And I guess I said before, I really look forward to December 1st when the Advent calendar begins, and I get to show you all those fun episodes that I made together with Drako and Andreas and Mats, my friends. That's going to be super fun. And that's going to be one episode every day for whole December up till Christmas Eve, 24th. So thank you so much for watching. And thank you for all the support for the channel. If you subscribe or if you like the video, if you support us on Patreon, thank you so much. Have a great evening, morning, or whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye-bye.